Like, I got plenty of plates. Hey, bird.
About a few days ago or somewhere around there, the update for the entire gadgets or consumable things came out. So first off, what are these consumables? Well, pretty much there is a lot of different types of ones, however they all fall down the exact same general playstyle. You go into a game, place them down, and yes, when you use them they are permanent and it literally uses up one. Now the way you get these consumable things from these new crates they added into the game, which I call like care packages, which pretty much what they are, just care packages. There are three types of these care packages. There is the low grade, mid grade, and high grade care packages. You can spend most of your majority of coins if you pretty much have all the gold towers or pretty much every single tower in the game to buy as many low grade and also mid grade crates as possible. In each of the three grade-ish care packages, they all have the pretty much same amount of stuff in them except high grade. High grade pretty much takes away all of the common quote-unquote stuff, and to be fair, like, these don't even have a rarity. Like, for an example, it just starts off on a blank name for the very first few consumables, which I'm pretty sure it's supposed to say common, but for whatever reason it's not there. Then it's uncommon, rare, epic, and then legendary. Now, in each of these columns or rarity types, there are obviously different types of stuff in there that essentially get more and stronger and much more harder to get the higher the rarity, and depending whichever care package you purchase will affect your chances on what you will receive. Now, you won't receive, thankfully, only one of these things at a time. Every single time you open up a care package, you will receive multiple of these different types of stuff. If you only got one item after, or essentially in every single crate, this would be incredibly stupid. But thankfully, you get a ton of different stuff. The more expensive the care package, the higher the rarity and chances you're gonna get are increased. Like, as an example, there is the mid-grade, which I think is a pretty good choice because it only costs 750 coins, and the high grade, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, the most expensive, is 50 Robux. So really, you just want to be going for the mid one because, I mean, it's not that expensive, and you know, you can actually just get a ton of stuff. More stuff received from the low grade care package. Alright, so now that we've gone over like which crates are the best ones or what they give you, let's go over the stuff that, or at least few of these that you will essentially get. First off is the common quote-unquote section, which we've got the standard grenade, which if you can tell. Next up we've got is the flashbang, which just stuns enemies as well, which I think is a really good one, especially for being common. And then we've got barricade, which I think is a meh one. I mean, it's obviously common, so it's not going to be that good, but yeah, it's meh. In the uncommon category, we've got the supply drop, airstrike, Molotov, and the UAV. The supply drop pretty much just drops off a bunch of cash that only the player who ordered them can actually get. We got the airstrike, which just, you know, sends in an airstrike. Then we got Molotov, and yeah, you can see how that goes. The UAV, which I think is just really not too great because, I mean, all it does is just increases towers, range, and also gives them hidden and flight detection, which honestly is pretty solid. However, there's not going to be too many times when you're going to be using this, so it's kind of useless. Next up we've got is a napalm strike, which is just an upgraded version of the airstrike. And then we've got the three flags: damage flag, range flag, and the cooldown flag. And why is it called cooldown flag? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, what this does is boosts towers rate of fire, which is strange because it's called cooldown flag. Why is it called that? Shouldn't it be called increased rate of fire or something like that? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Then we got the range flag, which you can pretty much just piece together, just increases troops range in its radius, so I think this one's also solid. And then I believe the best one out of pretty much all of them is the damage flag. This one increases towers damage by 40% if memory serves right.
Oh my god, I can't believe it.
In the epic section, we've got the blizzard bomb. And this just freezes enemies in a giant radius. I'm assuming nothing really too great there. And then finally, we've got legendary, the nuke. This deals 50,000 damage. And that's pretty much the entire updates. Now, my general honest review, or at least conclusion. I believe that these consumables are pretty useless, in my opinion. Now, before you go ahead and go beat my ass and probably just scream at me for, I don't know, being an affront to the TDS community or whatever, let me explain my reasoning. So, when you are playing this game for the very first time, or as like a beginner, these consumable things may seem pretty good, like pretty powerful, but you really wouldn't be wanting to go for these since they are a one-time use and are honestly kind of expensive, especially for a newer player, let's say lower than, I don't know, 40 or something, like around the 30 rank. These things are not going to be that useful since you're probably not going to be winning every single game, and honestly these things aren't going to be that great and useful. For higher level players, these are just meh as well because you already at that level have very powerful towers, such as an example the Ranger, Accelerator, Golden Minigunner, Engineer, and a ton of others more. And also, this is just in my, I guess, perspective, each of these abilities are just a copycats of other successfully stronger towers. Like as an example, the 3 flags are just the commanders. However, like the most obvious one is the cooldown one, since if you have a commander one, this flag is pretty much useless because you have a commander. So why would you need this flag? It does the exact same thing, but lower because you can actually upgrade the commander, giving him stronger rate of fire ability effects. Then we've got, like for an example, the supply drop, which is also pretty useless because I mean you've got farms that give you 12k if you upgrade them all to the max. 12k is more than 1,200, so yeah, this thing is not too great as well. Then we've got a bunch of the other ones, like for an example, UAV, which is pretty useless. Then Molotov, Grenade, Flashbang, which are, I guess, pretty solid. And something you can use pretty much all the time since you can get these very easily since they're common, and the Molotov is an uncommon. But the other ones are just genuinely just you won't even need to use. Like I said, you have very powerful towers, and most of these consumable gadget things you already have in your locker. Like as an example, the airstrike and napalm strike are basically the military base's ability to airstrike. So like you have a free one from a military base that you can use 5 times for each of those 5 military bases for free, literally for free, and you can do it as many times as you want, literally as many times as you want. However, over here it's pretty much just pay, and you can only use it a few times before you have to get lucky enough to pretty much get them again. Now, regarding the Blizzard Bomb and Nuke, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the exact same case. You're never going to really use these. You're going to be mainly using them for like special events and stuff like that. However, for mainly like regular game modes like Fallen or like Polluted Wasteland, these aren't going to be that useful because I mean like these are crazy expensive Robux and or tons of thousands of coins, so really you're not going to be using them on these very low-ish, not, you know, hard game modes. So really these are just going to be sitting there to rot as you're just playing the game, not using your abilities or consumables, whatever, and you're just going to be using your towers just normally and completely forgetting, oh that's right, I have a tool, or that's right, I have stuff that can actually help me out. However, I may be completely wrong with this. Maybe sooner down the road everyone's going to be using these things like crazy and they're going to be everywhere and these guys are going to be super popular. But in my opinion, later down the road, pretty much no one's going to be using these because I mean they're saving them because I mean like this game's not that difficult, and or these things are already just lower-ish, not as strong or powerful or as even useful as the original creators, such as for an example the supply drop, which is from the farm, the cooldown flag is from the commander, and then the airstrikes are from the military base. So you can just use the regular tower in exchange for these guys. Like literally, it doesn't make sense on like why you would ever use these things unless you're just trying to have fun when you have like hundreds upon thousands of each of them. But in my opinion, these things are just kind of useless since there's not going to be too much of situations when you're going to be like, oh, I should really use my, I don't know, nuke or something, or an airstrike. Sometimes, yeah, if you're like, I don't know, trying to complete a super hard challenge, like for an example, those missions, I think that's when they will actually become very powerful. However, in all the other circumstances, I think they're just going to be left to rot. And really, in conclusion, these things are just not even that good. I mean, somewhat good, but when you're gonna actually need to use them, it's gonna be slim to nothing unless you're trying to complete hardcore or any special events in the future. In my advice, you save them for the future because you never know if you're gonna beat an event game mode and it's gonna be such a close match. But in my opinion, these things are just not that good and you should just save them up because Jesus Christ, these are pretty useless.